I had you balanced perfectly and now you won't stay. Okay. All right. So hi.
Hello.
It's the last time we have to do this. Yay. Sad. Oh. So the unit for globalization seems to be going pretty well. For the kids, they seem to be kind of getting a lot out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I've given them the summative assessment, I am noticing that maybe some of the definition of resources and their research kind of like habits could stand a little bit of direct instruction as far as what I would expect for them to get done in the process of this final presentation that they're going to do next week.
Mm-hmm.
And so I created a little bit of a resources and a research kind of direct instruction here, and that mostly focuses on Common Core standards of research,
and I think it touches on ELA too, right?
Yeah.
English Language Arts.
Absolutely.
Which they can use reinforcement of that in every class. So I think that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Do you want to just go over
Yeah, I can do that. So, I won't go over the standards, because most of the Common Core standards for social studies are, in regards to, taking sources and making them clear and noting discrepancies and things like that. And so my objective is prove with evidence through internet sites and primary and secondary resources the significance of using sound resources and research methods when completing the summative presentation assigned to class groups on globalization. Mm-hmm. So, and in my pedagogical, practice of what I've been learning at SC, everything, open it with a motivation. And what really kind of inspired this morning was I was drinking my coffee, getting ready to come down here for the day, and I was looking at my Tumblr feed, and there was this hilarious meme of the Hulk. And it says it's a picture of a Hulk, and he's got smart, intelligent glasses on, brainy glasses. And it says, "You wouldn't like me when I'm angry, because I always back up my rage with facts and documented sources." And it says, instead of the Incredible Hulk, it's the Credible Hulk. And I thought that was hilarious. And I know my kids love comics, and they love the Avengers, which was last summer. It's a big deal. And so I just thought that would be hilarious.
This is really good. I think
and I think even the boys will think, "Oh my God, the Miss knows about the Hulk." So I'm hoping that goes over well. But I thought I'd start off with that, and and we'll talk a little bit about credible, what credible means, and and versus incredible, and explain the joke if necessary, and then go into a little bit of a demonstration about primary and secondary resources. And I found this really great video that was put online by Houston Tillotson University, which is a small African American college in Austin. It's like the other college in Austin besides the big giant UT.
Oh, I see.
And one of my aunts is actually an education professor there.
Oh,
and
cool.
She's like part of the Texas credentialing program. She has to do at that school. Yeah, I know, it's pretty great. I was like, "Oh, hey, look," 'cause I didn't do it on purpose. I just happened to find it, and then I looked, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's Houston Tillotson."
That's what I was going to ask you, if she had told you about the
No, she didn't. No, actually, it was just all coincidence. So they have these two videos, and I think I definitely want to show one, and we'll see about the other one. But one is show primary and secondary resources. It's a primary and secondary resources video that kind of breaks down the difference between the two and how sometimes a resource can actually be both of the things depending on what your topic is. And it goes slow, kind of in a PowerPoint kind of style, but it'll let me pause and actually talk about it. And what's really great is the video. It breaks down like what would be considered a primary source, like in an art paper versus a literature paper versus a history paper versus, so just kind of gives them a good guideline to go on. And I think I might even, if you like the video, put it up on Schoology for the kids to look at for future reference.
Yeah, we can upload the link, and then if they want to reference it again at any time, that would be good.
Okay, cool. And it's only about 4 minutes long, but I think the showing of it and maybe pausing a little bit to make sure they get to take their notes. And I'll have them take Cornell notes during it, just so they're focusing and paying attention to it. But then there's a second video that I would like to show too, but it'll see how long I can keep their attention span. But it's evaluating internet sources, just like looking at, using a critical eye towards like when you're doing research on the internet, whether a source is valid, what bias means, that kind of thing, and just to kind of keep them, what the difference between a .org and a .com is.
Yeah, that's important.
So and it's about 7 minutes long. So we'll see if I can keep them focused with that. And then, I'm going to question them a little bit, and then I'd like to show them the MLA page from Cornell University. They have a really good layout of like how to cite sources and how to do a works cited page because I've asked them to do that as well here, and I want to make sure that they know what they're looking for and what to put on that resources page. And then, since we're supposed to be going down to the library anyway today, after I just kind of get this all out of the way for them, and just, I don't want it to go too long, but I do want to kind of, remind them a bit more than anything else. And then we'll get back down to doing our research down the library, and as they're kind of, because this is their last research day, so they should be able to really start putting stuff together, and I can help them get things sorted, and, and whether, if they have a question about a resource, then we can talk about it from there. So.
I mean, you had mentioned right now that there's a few terms that you're going to go over with them that will be addressed in the video. So just as a recap, I was wondering what one of the terms is going to be credibility, right? What is a credible source? And then some other ones that you said you wanted to discuss with the students were
primary versus secondary resources. And the video itself has really good, and I don't have a list of the words in front of me right now, and I really should, but I will make one before we start. It has some different like key terms about, like what makes something a primary source versus what makes something a secondary source. And as I'm going through there, and bias, looking for, understanding what bias and unbiased reporting is, I think is important. It's like, and I think I'll probably use an example like Fox News versus like, MSNBC. That's always pretty relevant to the kids, especially since you talked about that so much with government last semester.
Right. That was going to be my follow-up question, actually. Like, so the students we're working with are seniors, so we would hope that they have prior knowledge when it comes to that, considering they took world history and U.S. history. So I was going to ask, like, what kind of questions can you ask, or how can you try to tap into that prior knowledge when you have that discussion?
Well, one of the things that is a good use of a primary source is talking about the timeliness of things. And one example that came to me as I was watching the video this morning is I was talking about, I was thinking about, as I was talking about it, kind of like rehearsing what I would say as we were going through the video, when it talks about the different things that you can use a primary source for. One of the things it talked about was timeliness and like the passing of time itself. And I thought about, as I was going through the examples, I was like, okay, well, if we were using Obama's a speech by Obama, like let's say like last week's State of the Union speech, and if I were to talk about it in regards of timeliness, I might compare it to like an FDR speech from like just after the Depression was declared over, or like pre-World War II, and like compare some of the thoughts that FDR had at the time with some of the thoughts that Obama might have hit in his speech. To talk about the effectiveness of timeliness as far as what was going on with our economy then versus what was going on with our economy now, and how their words have varied in, but still some things remain the same as far as what they're talking about. So I might talk about that a little bit and get a little bit of the prior knowledge from World War II, something like that. So.
That's good. There was something else I was thinking about. Oh yes, and are you gonna, so after you clarify what is a primary source, what is a secondary source, what is bias, all these things which I think are really important when they're analyzing different pieces of information. Are you going to request that they have a certain amount for the project, a certain amount of primary sources and a certain amount of secondary sources? Or?
Yes, actually, in the instructions they've been given for this project, which they've already begun their research on, as we both know, they are asked to provide either, if it's a PowerPoint presentation that they're going to give, to provide like their last slide, and they're to give at least 4 primary and secondary sources, and that can include, because this presentation is multimedia. Oh, it's he's speaking in. It's okay. he won't take me.
Uh-huh.
The janitor's here. The video can be one of their resources, you know, and so can their images. So, and since those are very good as far as, especially in a report like this, when you're talking about countries that are developing countries, to have pictures as evidence, which evidence is one of the primary goals of a primary source as well, is to provide evidence for what you're trying to tell people. You know, once I told the kids pictures or it didn't happen. You know, those are the ways to kind of like bring home the relevance or the immediateness of, I guess, of the situations that they're going to be explained to them. So their pictures and their videos can also be part of their sources. So 4 may sound like a lot for them, but if they use a picture and a video, that's 2 primary sources right there. And I'm sure that they're going to use more than 2 secondary sources. Just by getting their data together to present to us. So I think 4 is actually not going to be that difficult for them to provide. I hope not. You think? Any questions for me? Any concerns about it?
No. I think it sounds good. I think it's a good. I think you did a good job of reflecting on the students' progress and how they're doing so far in the project. And noticing that, you know, maybe they needed some reinforcement in terms of assessing what sources would be good to use, which is essential, you know, in a research project. So I think it was a good way that you went back to try to reteach, you know, these different skills that, you know, that the students may have been lacking somewhat. So yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay. All right, well, we'll get 4 and 6 with it today and see how that goes.
Okay.
Yay. All right, my guinea pigs. All right. Thanks, Mr. Morales.
No problem. What do you think? Time-wise?
It's short, but
What is it, 10 minutes?
12 minutes.